Well, Rajya Sabha MP Rajiv Chandrasekhar, former telecom entrepreneur and MP, has once again questioned Tata Group Chairman Ratan Tata. Chandrasekhar said that the Tata should not practice double standards and the need to come clean on this matter has arrived. In fact, saying that he respected Ratan Tata, the Rajya Sabha MP did urge the group chairman to come clean on Tata Teleservices. Well, our senior editor Sandeep Bamzai spoke to Mr. Chandrasekhar a short while back, and this is what he had to say.
Rajiv Chandrasekhar, former BPL Mobile Chairman and now Rajya Sabha MP with us. He's written a scathing letter an open letter to Ratan Tata questioning his double standards. Let's ask him why he's written the letter now. Rajiv, why have you written the letter? Why have you chosen to write this letter now?
No, the letter, the timing is basically driven by the recent interviews that Mr. Tata gave to the media, where he himself has raised three issues of hoarding of spectrum, out-of-turn spectrum allotment, and policy flip-flop. And I agree that those are clearly the issues at play today, and that has resulted in these spectrum scam. But I wanted to join in some sense spotlighting that the contradictory position between what he was saying and what his companies are effectively doing vis-a-vis spectrum.
Rajiv, you've often in conversations with me extolled the virtues of the House of Tatas, the fact that they follow ethical standards. This is completely going against the grain from your stated position in the past.
Yeah, and therein is the tragedy, Sandeep, which is that people like me who have always seen the Tatas as in some sense the benchmark for corporate conduct and corporate behavior are obviously very, very disappointed with this seeming contradiction between what they represent and what they say and what they end up effectively doing. And so this letter is not written with rancor or in any form, in any attempt to dilute what the Tatas stand for. But I believe the principles and the issue that I've raised require for the Tatas to answer and clarify.
So is there a public face that Mr. Tata is presenting, and is there a private face of Mr. Tata which is not exactly up to scratch? Because we've seen from some of the conversations that have appeared that he's encouraging lobbying and fixing.
Look, that I don't want to comment on, Sandeep. This is not about getting into a personal debate on Mr. Tata or any of the other controversies that his group is currently embroiled with. I believe, this letter is purely on the issue of three matters of principle relating to his alleged, let's say his point that the Tatas have walked the narrow on hoarding of spectrum, on out-of-turn spectrum allotment, and this issue of policy flip-flop. I am only making the point that the Tatas have benefited on all these issues. And it is not enough for businessmen to say policy is good when it works for them and for their commercial interests, and suddenly say the policy is bad when it does not work for them anymore. Policy is either good or bad, and it must be treated as good or bad regardless of whether it's in your commercial interest or somebody else's.
Okay, from the tone and tenor of your letter and its contents, it's clear that the Tatas were without a doubt one of the biggest beneficiaries of the 2G license spectrum scam, as it were, because as part of the dual technology license, they actually benefited by over 19,000 crores as far as loss to the exchequer is concerned.
No, the dual technology licenses, Sandeep, have two very, very interesting behavioral issues associated with it. One is the fact that the Tatas are benefiting from a policy announcement on spectrum that was announced after a whole lot of companies applied for 2G spectrum. And in a sense, the dual technology policy was an attempt or an effort to bypass the queue and create a new queue in which only the Tatas were present. So therefore, if the issue of out-of-turn spectrum allotment is really discussed dispassionately, it is obvious that the Tatas have benefited considerably from out-of-turn spectrum allotment at the expense of those 300-odd companies that had applied much before them for the same spectrum.
Now, as a former telecom operator and one of the first movers in this sector, despite all the growth, the momentum that this business carries, now of course it's margin negative increasingly because of a surfeit of operators in every circle. But over the last 15, 16 years, what have we seen? Litigation is the key thing in this sector. Do you see more litigation coming, given that Kapil Sibal has said that some of the licenses could actually be cancelled?
No, I think what we need is really a government policy that is consistent and that is fair to everybody. Unfortunately, in my view, policies have been made in the past and endorsed by companies and corporates when it works for their commercial interests. And that is not a good way to make policy. That is not a good way to have public policy in a country like ours, which claims to be an emerging country. We must have public policy that is fair and applicable to everybody. It is not enough to take a businessman's view on policy and he says it's good when it works for him. Then 6 months later, he wakes up and he says it's not working for me, so therefore the policy is bad. It is best to leave public policy and define public policy which is in national interest and in public interest. And of course it must help investments and in business, but it should not be architected with keeping only the business interest in mind.
If you come face to face with Ratan Tata in the next few days at an